In a world where stability reigns supreme, one woman walked away from certainty. She traded in comfort for chaos, pay slips for pressure, and chose to bet on the only thing she truly trusted, herself. This is Holly, a fearless founder, a relentless problem solver, and a professional oversharer on a mission to tell the truth about what it really takes to create brands from scratch. No filters, no fluff, just the crazy chaos of entrepreneurship. It's the keeping up with the Kardashians of brand building, but with more spreadsheets, some glam, and hopefully fewer Kim K ugly cries. This is not just a YouTube channel. This is HVB's founder show, and the show you didn't know you needed. What are you waiting for? Let's get into it.
I am on a dairy, gluten, egg-free diet. This is not particularly work-related, but I think it's very interesting, so hopefully you will too. No dairy, no gluten, no eggs, and I'm doing it for 30 days. I thought it was gonna be hell. I'm on like day 5 now, and I spent all of my day looking for a dairy, gluten, egg-free restaurant, and it was actually surprisingly easy. So I'm feeling great on this new diet, and it's more just for gut health because I basically have a few issues with my gut, which will all actually make a lot more sense when we do launch the brand. Saying no more. So a little bit of a tease there. I spent the entire day looking for gluten, dairy, egg-free restaurant, and I found it. And so this is just my hot tip to you guys. If you live in London and you need a gluten, dairy, vegan, all of that stuff, and no, it doesn't mean that it's not going to be a fun, nice, lovely fooded restaurant. Fooded. The food was amazing. So I would 10 out of 10 recommend. It's a place called Yo Town in a hotel in Queensway, Paddington kind of way. Anyway, Inhabit Hotels, I'll link it below. If you are a gluten, dairy, egg-free human, let's chat. But you must try that restaurant. It is so nice. We're going to wind it back a little bit on this week's episode. How exciting to a few months ago now when we were building out our customer profiling. So see you back in the past. I'll be here waiting in the future. See you in a sec. Basically, by doing this exercise, what you're doing is building out this really, really rich picture as to who your person is. Where do they live? How do they shop? All of that stuff. How they spend their time. Do they like spending time with friends? Are they quite introverted? Are they extroverted? Do they engage with social media often? All of these different touch points. I'm answering all the questions, and then I'm going to build out this really rich picture. Then what I'm going to do with this is plug that into more of a visual document. So I'm probably going to use something like Canva. And then I'm going to use that to layer in these different elements of the customer persona to build out this diagram, ultimately, of what they look like and who they are. And then when you have moments when you're thinking of building out your social campaign, even building out the website, doing business plans, that is when you can lean into this document, and then you can use it as a refresher and a guide to help you make decisions. So for example, is it right that we don't potentially have subscriptions on the website if this is how we know that our customer likes to shop? Why would we not have that? Or for example, when you're thinking about the aesthetic, the filming style for your social media, how are we filming our content based on who we are trying to speak to? If we know that our customer is someone who uses social as a really strong indicator of whether they're going to buy into a brand, social proof is really important to them, then we need the content to feel organic. So then you make sure that the way that you film the content is organic. So it's really, really powerful, really, really important. And I would strongly recommend thinking about building this out at the very beginning of your brand journey. So at the moment, we are making the decision whether we all know that we got the trademark for the UK. Hooray. However, we only got it for the UK Our plan when we launch the brand is going to be we only launch in the UK to begin with. I've seen brands launch and try go everywhere from the get-go, and all that means is just like a lot of operational admin. There's so many other logistical things to consider, a lot of different legalities. Obviously every different territory considers packaging and regulation and everything like that very differently. So in order to be globally compliant from day one, there is quite a lot of costs associated with that. And obviously as a small business, we do not have endless budgets. We have had investment, but it's like not enough to justify the time, the money spent on ensuring that we are compliant and everything else globally. So we've made the executive decision to launch and to really just focus on our home market and to really build the presence and reputation of the brand within the UK and then world domination. However, even though right now we're not launching into different territories, we do need to protect ourselves for when the time comes when we do. So at the moment, I'm literally on email talking to our trademark lawyer to see whether we can justify and find the budget, squeezing out every last drop of our budget here on getting the EU trademarked, because the EU, when you apply for the trademark, you actually get the applications, you get all 27 countries, and also Australia, because if we bundle it into the cost right now, it will end up being overall cheaper for us. And obviously those markets will end up being really big markets for us, we hope. And Australia, just based on me spending a lot of time living there, I hope and dream one day that our brand, we will be flying to Australia and we'll go and see our brand on the shelves of Mecca, because how fucking cool would that be? So there are certain decisions that we need to decide now, despite the fact that it feels ages away that we're going to be having to make those decisions about where we retail and going into those markets. But as we all know, everything is moving at the speed of light and we are holding on for dear life at this point, is how I feel. So we're just deciding whether we can justify doing that. It is roughly about £2,000 to trademark the EU and Australia, which maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have budgets to meet, it's money, right? And we've already spent quite a lot of money on our UK trademark. Comment below, I would love to know what you guys think. Do you think it's worth it? Would you bother trademarking in a market that you're not particularly thinking of launching in anytime soon? Because what can happen is obviously you can launch into the UK, people can see what you're doing, they can see your brand name and go, oh, that's nice. I'm Sandra in Sydney and I think that's a good idea and I'm going to go make the brand. So what would you do in my position? Comment below, let me know what you think.